I want to talk about the Cardinals a little more because it's opening day week, and we're getting closer to, as crazy it is. It goes by so quick once you get to the final couple of weeks. It really does. It seems like, there was a tedious part. Now we're back to getting closer to the real thing, and that's really, really a lot of fun. A couple things that are on my mind as we near that time. And I guarantee you we will talk about this, Will and I, on Seeing Red tomorrow. I'll be stunned if we don't. Other than Jordan Walker, who's a huge story this spring. I mean, just in general. Will was really revved up about the Cardinals offense, maybe like 2 podcasts ago, or maybe it was even the last podcast. He was really revved up about it. And while I don't think he's wrong to be revved up about it, I'm still trying to, what's the word? I'm confident about this offense, but I would like to see that confidence reinforced early in the season because they've got a lot of tough opponents. Our friend from MLB.com, Anthony Castrovins, he ranked all the lineups. He's got the Cardinals as the 4th best offense in the major leagues going into the season. It's a really nice endorsement. I don't think it's crazy. I think it's realistic, but it comes with a caveat. Will enough of the bats that they need to come through, will those bats actually come through? They got a lot of really good things in place, but all right. What about the rebounds for Tyler O'Neill and Dylan Carlson? Can Nolan Gorman's changes, and they were important changes, but will those changes produce a better offensive season? His offensive season last year, despite what people think, was above average if you go by OPS plus, which is a fair measure, but he just went off the pier final month and a half or so. This idea of a dominant offense, now that we know the roster, it also depends on Jordan Walker in terms of how soon will he be able to hit with authority in the major leagues? Because I cannot put that on a rookie. I just can't say, well, he's got to hit from day one. It doesn't work that way. You can't. This isn't. No one's got a magic genie. Yeah, you make a wish. Get to make a wish. It doesn't work that way. I talked about this last week, but you look at some of the Cardinals. I mean, not everybody's Albert Pujols. Some of the Cardinals' prominent names who struggled at the beginnings of their career. Jim Edmonds had 5 home runs in Anaheim, 5 home runs in his first 350 at bats for the Angels. 5 and 350 at bats. My guy Cal Ripken. I don't remember if I used this example or not. They brought him up late in the 1981 season. That's right, late in the 81 season, and he hit 128. Then he made the team coming out of spring training in 82, and he in like his first 35 games, he hit like 140. And I went to many of those home games back in 81, 82. But I remember with my friends, we're watching him strike out early in the 82 season, and it's kind of like, is he really as good as they say? I mean, Cal Ripken had a brutal start to his career. And so my point is, I've seen literally in person one of the all-time greats look totally overmatched and overpowered at the start of his career. And then once he kind of figured a few things out, he took off, and as they say, the rest is history. So I'm just not going to put that on Walker. I'm not going to demand that he get off to a great start. And if he doesn't, I'm not going to, start hollering about sending him down. He is going to be developing in real time at the major league level. That is not easy to pull off, but then again, you look at the rookies, all the really fine, outstanding rookie seasons, even last season. I mean, you're talking about Julio Rodriguez, you're talking about Brendan Donovan, you're talking about Michael Harris Jr., and there's several others that had outstanding major league seasons, and so it can be done. Those guys were good as soon as they came up. or as soon as the season opened. It can be done. Adley Rutschman's another one, the Orioles catcher. Fantastic player, fantastic rookie. So it can be done. Now we just have to wait and see. And that's kind of my approach to things. I was talking about this earlier. You know, we have hemmed and hawed, or I should say stewed, about the Cardinals' rotation. And we still are, and there's still things that are a matter of concern. But now that we're here, a couple, 3 days away from opening day, now is not the time to, declare Jack Flaherty a failure, or to look at Steven Matz and say, oh, he'll get injured again, or to look at Jordan Montgomery, he wasn't very good that final month last year. We can get into all this stuff. But what's the point? Number one, we all know that there are questions about the Cardinals starting rotation. Ranked 21st, by the way, in the big leagues, according to Fangraphs. So we know that this will be a season-long issue that we'll inspect almost on a daily basis. But number two, there's nothing to do about it right now. Let them start pitching, and we'll see what happens, with the understanding that John Mozeliak has been able to go out and acquire pitching help 2 years in a row that really made a huge difference. Did he acquire Max Scherzer? No. But the point is he got them the help they needed in each of the last 2 years. Maybe not as dramatic as we would have liked, although Quintana and Montgomery last year when they came over, they were fantastic. They made a huge difference during their time here. And, of course, Montgomery's time continues into 2023 with the St. Louis Cardinals. So I look at that offense, though, and I am kind of reassured by this. Despite the injuries, despite the inconsistencies, St. Louis led the National League in OPS+, ranked among the top 4 in runs per game, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, home runs, doubles. Albert Pujols has left the building, yes, but his retirement can be offset by the power and the really, really high on-base percentage record that Wilson Contreras brings to the catcher position, one that was very weak offensively the past 2 years. Here's a question I have, Jim. Will the Cardinals' weaknesses be exposed in the new scheduling format? Of course, we all know by now, beginning this season, the Cardinals will play their NL Central teams, their rivals, NL Central, 52 games per season. That's down from 76. And the biggest change is playing at least one series against every American League team, but they will have 2 series against Kansas City, which is, of course, the designated rival. So what does this mean? It means, I think, the Cardinals have a lot to prove. How many people, wasn't just me, although I did at least factually make sure everyone knew, which doesn't always play well with the cotton candy crowd. They were 93 and 69 last year, but, the small print under that headline offers some, red alert, some concern. You pick the description. Cardinals last season, and again, they have most of their season, their roster intact, most of it, with a couple notable exceptions like Pujols. But I explained him already because they'll be able to offset his offense because they're going to have a catcher who hits, and it's the first time in a long time. But anyway, last season, the Cardinals were 34 and 38 against winning teams. They were 45 and 41 in games played outside of the National League Central. And listen to this one, because I don't think I have ever offered this one before. When the Cardinals did not play the Cubs, the Reds, or the Pirates, their record was 55 and 50. So my point is, no matter how we feel about the Cardinal lineup and the optimism there, or we feel about, hey, Matz could have a good season, Miklasz will have a good season, Montgomery should have a good season, right on down the line. We can talk that stuff up all we want. But the fact is, when they weren't beating up on punching bags, when they weren't playing the Cubs, Reds, and Pirates, they were 55 and 50. I think that tells us something. It may tell us a lot. See, I can't just brush that off. Yeah, it's a new season. I get it. But I think these trends have sort of been in places for a while, and I don't have to remind everyone that, or anyone, that they've lost 9 of their last 10 postseason games. So I'm not being a Mr. Meanie here. I'm just restating what we've learned about them and what we have learned about them for a while. The Cardinals do a good job of beating up on weaklings, but they have not distinguished themselves against quality opponents. There are exceptions to that. They swept the Yankees last year, for goodness sake. But that's the point. You go with the bigger body of work. So they can really – I think they have a great chance to prove themselves that this was just nothing to worry about. But it's going to be up to them to prove it, because I'm not going to dismiss it outright. It's a thing. And we know it's a thing, so it's okay to be an adult and say it's a thing.
Oh, I think there's 100%. It's a factor. But I also, when I look at the schedule, just broad picture here, just a broad thought. You lose some of those games with the Pirates and the Reds, but you're getting the Angels, you're getting Oakland. Well, those teams, I'm not expecting either one of those teams to be world beaters. Now, they're not going to be as bad as Pittsburgh, but they're not also the Yankees and some of those teams. So you may gain a little bit, but it should factor in a little bit. But I think bigger picture for me is that, you talked about the offense a little bit. It could be really good. It could be good if 6, 7, and 8 in that lineup turn out to be guys that can I don't want to use the word difference makers because that's too strong a term, but be very strong contributors. And I think that will help level out all that talk of, well, we're playing really good teams. If that lineup, at that point, once you get past Contreras, if that lineup becomes longer because of those guys putting up numbers, Gorman's one of those guys in that category. Walker's, I think the lineup we saw today, by the way, is the lineup we're going to see most of the time.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Go ahead.
But I just think that can be a leveling the playing field, so to speak, of the offset of a schedule of not playing the Pirates and the Reds. It's just a thought.
And after the first month, it's a difficult first month in terms of quality of opponents. But after that, it'll kind of level out a little bit. But I had a note. I forgot what I did with it. I mean, the Cardinals, if you look at the American League teams, I think I'll find it, like 7 or 8 of them were either 500 or below last season. So, yeah, there's some soft touches there. Of course, people will be looking at Houston, the series with Houston and the Yankees and Tampa Bay, maybe Cleveland. There's going to be scrutiny on the more high-profile opponents, but the Cardinals saw some soft spots to rack up wins as well, to your point. But I still got to see it.
Oh, yeah.
I still got to see it. I still got to see a better record against winning teams primarily. I mean, if they can do that, go from a team with a losing record against winning teams as they were last year to becoming a winning record against winning teams, then I think they're going to be okay. But they've got something to prove. Today's lineup, as Jim Hewer mentioned, I'd be surprised that it's not the opening day lineup on Thursday. Because I think Ali Marmol, and I haven't read any of his post-game quotes or anything like that, I think Ali Marmol, and I'll catch up on that tonight. I know my guy, John Denton's all over it. But anyway, here's the lineup he used for the final spring training game, which the Cardinals won, which is neither here nor there. Just 1 through 9. Donovan at second base, Nootbaar in left field, Goldschmidt at first base, Arenado batting cleanup. Then you have Contreras batting fifth. You have O'Neill batting sixth in center. You have Gorman as the DH batting seventh. Walker in right field batting eighth. And the number 9 hitter was Tommy Edman. Not to reach for the obvious cliche here, but as Larry David would say, pretty good. It is. But you look at that lineup, and you can see you could just see a lot of dynamite there. But they have got to be able to avoid these nagging injuries that have affected O'Neill and Carlson. Gorman's got to be more consistent than he won as a rookie. He was as a rookie. Walker's got to hold his own. I expect any rookie to struggle just a bit, but hold his own until, he sort of gets through that hard test that's going to await him right away. I think Nootbaar is legit, and anyone who listens to this show or has been listening to the show for a long time knows that's been my consistent opinion, and it's still there. I think Lars Nootbaar is going to have a fantastic season. I think Donovan will too, and he'll have a little more power. I think it's tough. I think it's tough, borderline unfair, to expect Goldschmidt and Arenado to play offensively, play to the level that they produced as a pair last season. It's just not realistic to expect those kind of numbers, but if they get close, that's fine. I expect big things from Contreras offensively. Everybody gets blue in the face talking about his pitch framing and blocking and all this stuff. He was hired for his defense or his offense, and his defense is not the crisis that we were. A lot of people would have us believe. And if you read Derek Gould's piece in the Post-Dispatch STL today, I drew inspiration and confidence from it because Contreras has been a maniac all spring, even during the time before they went to spring training. Absolute maniac in knowing what the Cardinals want him to do to become better defensively. He wants to be better defensively. He knows he's inheriting number 4's job. And this is an immensely proud man. And he has been working overtime to polish up those areas that need to be polished up. So that gives me, and by the way, the powerful arm of his will be a huge asset in what we all expect to have, many more stolen bases attempts this year. So I feel good about Contreras and his defense because he has gone out of his way not only to bond with all the pitchers and get detailed scouting reports about those pitchers. He's been studying them. He's been getting to know them. He's established a good relationship with them. But most of all, this guy has so much pride. He is absolutely driven to prove that he can be a really good catcher defensively. So I look forward to seeing him prove that. You look at some other things with this offense, sort of the questionable things. What's going on with Tommy Edman? Is he going to be okay early in the season? These are things we don't know yet. Are they going to get much from Alec Burleson from the bench? I think they can because Marmol will find a way to use him smartly coming off the bench most of the time. And there was one other thing I wanted to talk about because we're talking about the lineup. And I don't care about the lineup. I do care about it. It's just that I'm not going to be fussing about it every single damn day. We know that Marmol's going to have Arenado and Goldschmidt hitting back-to-back. Other than that, everything is mixable, matchable, interchangeable. There's no reason for Oli Marmol to install a set lineup. His job is to give himself and his team the best advantage he can on a given day. And that's where matchups come on. For people that don't quite understand, and I'm not trying to put you down, but just to kind of underline that point for you, here it goes. Last season, he went with 152 different lineup combinations. And listen, that was among the leaders, among major league managers. That's a pretty high count, but other teams had even more lineup combinations. But this is the one that caught my eye when I was doing research this morning. Oli Marmol's most frequent lineup last season, right? He used 3 times. He had several stretches where he played the same lineup like 3 days in a row. That happened during the season here and there. But he never went with the same lineup more than 3 times in a row. So that's why I get impatient and I'm kind of a jerk, but it's just when I see people just debating, well, this guy should hit it here and this guy should hit there. Oh, that guy should never hit there. I'm sorry, but it's an irrelevant discussion. This manager takes the information he's given, by the scouting department, by the advanced metrics department, his own coaches, even the players themselves. He has got such a fine way of figuring out the best combination each day. So if you're looking for a set lineup, once again, last season he used his most frequently used lineup consisted of 3 games in a row. That's it. So don't get in a fist fight with your buddies arguing about who should hit 7th. That's all I'm trying to tell you. Many people will hit 7th. The only thing you can count on for sure, you're gonna have either Donovan or Nootbaar batting leadoff most of the time. You're gonna have Goldie and Arenado back to back, and from there all bets are off. There's going to be a lot of interchangeable pieces to this lineup, and that's how it should be. For the first time in a long time last year, the Cardinals had the platoon split advantage over 50%. That's because of Ali Marmol. Let the man do what he does best. He finds advantages.
I'm looking forward to it already, Bernie, because then we can have debates. Why is he doing this today? What's he doing that for? That's part of the intrigue for me. I'm not complaining about it. I just like the discussion when we see it. We go, oh, what's he doing here? Why is he doing that? It makes for a fun thing other than, well, it's the same 9 every day, same 8, so to speak. I like the intrigue. As a baseball fan, I am looking forward to having it start for real on Thursday because then we can start the process of, I see where he's going here. He likes this guy now. Who's swinging the bat well? Why is he getting moved up? It's so much more fun that way.
And sometimes there are things we don't know about. Players are playing through injuries and all that. But my point is that Marmol he's established a very clear track record on how he will handle lineups. And it's just I really don't see anything in his approach unless he changes it in a disappointing way that would get me all angered up. I just don't, because I saw how he did it last year, and that's fine with me because it worked. You're tied for 4th in the majors and runs scored.